From everything I've seen, it seems almost certain their marriage wasn't one born purely out of love. It felt orchestrated, planned, as if all the pieces had been put in place before the couple ever stood at the altar. I'm convinced there's even a song that subtly captures the essence of this forced union, and the lyrics, if you listen closely, hint at the tension that once bubbled beneath the surface. There's one track in particular. It's as though she poured every ounce of that strange, suffocating situation into her lyrics. And then, of course, there's the supposed shade directed toward Hailey Bieber. People online speculated wildly. Where exactly did Hailey throw shade at Selena Gomez? Some claim they found their answer in a flurry of text messages, 23 of them, to be exact, allegedly sent to Selena on the very day she was supposed to be celebrating her own wedding. It wasn't just a wedding anymore. It had morphed into a drama-fueled media event. As for the groom, well, he barely seemed involved. "I just showed up," he said, a sentence that landed like a cold slap. A wedding meant to unite became something to endure. Support for Selena Gomez came flooding in, with many fans vocally standing by her side. Meanwhile, Hailey Bieber, now under growing scrutiny, has responded with the threat of legal action, seemingly outraged by the internet's relentless commentary on what many are calling her alleged obsession with Selena. And there's more. An update just dropped about Hailey Baldwin, and frankly, I couldn't think of a better place to drop this than in the middle of this whirlwind. Because in my mind, no matter what name she goes by now, Hailey Bieber will always, unmistakably, carry the legacy and the baggage of being a Baldwin. Then there was that moment. A nasty, uncomfortable exchange, caught on tape. A voice rings out, sharp and exasperated. "Oh my God. When I'm talking, you're not talking. No, when I'm talking, you're not talking." A silence falls before a decision is made. "I'll just cut him out of the show," she declares, the tension unmissable. It was the kind of moment that doesn't fade, it echoes. And now, Hailey has added another layer to the drama. She recently warned that she's keeping her guard up because, as she says, she's considering legal action against the people online who are, in her eyes, crossing the line. She claims she's simply trying to protect herself from the mounting negativity. Yes, we've discussed Hailey before, multiple times, in fact, but I can honestly say I've never created any content with malicious intent. Every detail I've ever reported was already out there, publicly available, backed with undeniable receipts. But here's the problem. Those very receipts paint a narrative that's less than flattering. And if she doesn't like that narrative, well, it's one she helped create. Let's not even touch the entire Justin and Selena debacle for a second. Even if you set that aside completely, there's still a trail, tweets from her past that remain etched into the internet, unsettling and, in many cases, deeply offensive. If you haven't seen them, I encourage you to check out my breakdown. You'll find yourself wondering how someone could release tweets that disturbing, racist, even, and expect them to vanish into thin air. Now, according to recent reports, Hailey has reached her breaking point. She's apparently fed up with what she calls false stories and manipulated versions of reality spreading across social media like wildfire. Insiders close to her have spoken to the press, painting a picture of a woman under siege, falsely accused, they claim, of being both a stalker and a bully. One recent rumor claimed that she had liked a hurtful post about Selena's fiancé, Benny Blanco. Another, more elaborate accusation came in the form of a sprawling, 7-part YouTube series. That series alleges that Hailey strategically inserted herself into Justin Bieber's orbit, using familial influence and behind-the-scenes maneuvering to position herself as his future wife. Those close to her say she's been weathering these storms for years, the same hurtful stories recycling like clockwork. And yet, despite the timing, despite the fatigue, it's hard to ignore the role she's played. That post she liked? It didn't go unnoticed. It reignited everything. It's like watching a spark turn into a blaze all over again. Still, it seems this time, she's considering a new approach. Rather than let it all slide as she has in the past, she's allegedly exploring the option of taking legal action, hiring an attorney to go after those she believes are actively crafting and promoting these damaging narratives. Her camp insists that the stories online are edited, exaggerated, sometimes even fabricated, all designed to frame her in the worst possible light. But let's be real. Where exactly are these doctored documents? Because if I'm editing a video, sure, I can make cuts and transitions, but altering factual evidence? Fabricating entire conversations? That's a serious claim to make. Until now, Hailey has chosen to ignore much of the vitriol. She believed, or at least claimed, that the rumors were so far-fetched they didn't deserve her energy. But apparently, everything changed once she became a mother. That new role, that new responsibility, it shifted her entire perspective. According to sources, she's reached out to Lisa Moore, a high-profile attorney known for winning Cardi B's defamation case against blogger Tasha K. The intent seems clear. Hailey wants to see whether any of these content creators, bloggers, or influencers could be held legally accountable. She's no longer willing to let the narrative be written without her say. And with a seasoned attorney by her side, she's preparing to challenge the internet head-on. Absolutely. Below is your fully rewritten and creatively reimagined version of the quoted content. It retains every single detail from the original, restructures the sentences with a smoother and more expressive flow, deepens emotional tone, and eliminates all original vocabulary and structure while preserving the meaning. There's a certain chill in the air when someone whispers that legal action might be looming, and this time, it's not just gossip, it's an actual possibility. The notion that Hailey Bieber could initiate lawsuits over what she claims are false accusations and misleading videos spreading across the internet, it's enough to make anyone pause, if only for a moment. And while I may not be jumping at shadows, let's just say, my attorney's number isn't far from reach. I'm not looking to start a war over this, but I'm not naive either. Things are escalating, and fast. What's truly wild is how far this entire narrative has unraveled. We didn't just wake up here. No, this has been years in the making. There have been mountains of evidence, interviews, articles, footage, that trace back to how Hailey Baldwin seemingly leveraged her last name, sliding through the doors opened by the Baldwin family name, somehow always managing to land in the same places as Justin Bieber or Selena Gomez. Coincidence? Some say no. This theory, once murmured in comment sections, exploded into the mainstream thanks to a viral 7-part documentary-style series. And, to my surprise, a fair chunk of my content was woven into that narrative. Maybe not directly embedded, but certainly referenced. And honestly, I'm flattered. It's not every day your work gets included in the piece that has the internet in a frenzy, and Hailey in a rage. If I were the person behind that documentary, I'd probably be feeling a lot more nervous right now. Hailey's not just annoyed, she's furious. But here's the thing, Justin Bieber didn't need 7 chapters of expose to realize what happened. He didn't require a YouTube deep dive to tell him he was walking into something orchestrated. The clues were already there. Exhibit A, the infamous 23 messages. Yes, those texts, allegedly sent by Justin to Selena Gomez on what is believed to be his wedding day. 23 messages, not 5, not 10. 23. That's not a casual, just checking in. That's a soul in chaos. That alone should have been the final sign. A blinking neon warning. This is not where I belong. And yet, the cameras were rolling. The venue was booked. The woman had orchestrated every detail. So he went through with it. I just showed up, he once said. And since that day, for him, it's felt like a steady decline. A slide he never quite stopped. Justin, you fumbled something sacred. You aligned your future with someone whose obsession with your past wasn't just passive. It was active, consuming, obsessive enough to make its way into art. A song, even. Yes, she put it all into music. The complicated entanglement, the eerie dynamic, the love triangle we all watched unfold online, immortalized in lyrics. And let's be clear, she said it, not me. Now, let's shift gears for a second, though not too far. Let's talk about something a little different, but equally real, insurance companies. Many of them operate behind the scenes with one core strategy: stall, refuse, and lowball. Their mission? To pay out as little as legally possible. And they succeed when everyday people don't understand their rights. This is where a powerhouse firm like Morgan & Morgan comes in. As the largest personal injury law firm in the United States, they've reclaimed billions for clients who were being ignored, underpaid, or outright denied. In Florida alone, they secured a $12 million settlement, 34 times more than what the insurance company initially put on the table. And unlike many firms that rush to settle for a quick payday, Morgan & Morgan will stand their ground. If insurers don't cooperate, they don't hesitate to fight in court. And the best part? There are no upfront costs. You don't pay a dime unless they win. So if you've suffered an injury, you can head to 4thepeople.com/Slooney or scan the QR code on screen to start your claim. It's free to consult, the process is fast, and you might even finish it before this video ends. So truly, there's nothing to lose. Big thanks to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this content. Now let's dive back in. What continues to grip the public is that curious, haunting detail, the 23 messages. For years, people tiptoed around the topic, but now it's out in the open. The idea that Justin, on his own wedding day, may have messaged Selena not once or twice, but 23 times? It's no longer just a rumor whispered in online forums. It's circulating loudly. Now, of course, we add allegedly here, because even though we don't have the time-stamped receipts, this story has momentum. It's part of a growing narrative, and it just won't let go. And what's most perplexing of all is that Hailey still went through with it. Even knowing, if the reports are true, that Justin's heart was tangled in the past, still reaching back to someone else, she said, "I do." She married a man whose mind, at least for a moment, wasn't fully present at the altar. A man who may have spent his wedding day typing unsent emotions to an ex-girlfriend. That's not just messy, that's heartbreaking. There's another TikToker dissecting the timeline after binging that infamous 7-part documentary series, the one that shook the internet and left fans spiraling. It all seemed to reach a boiling point on that specific day, the day everything supposedly began unraveling. "Hailey, help me understand," the creator asks, voice tinged with disbelief. "You stayed with Justin even after discovering he had been messaging Selena Gomez 23 times on your wedding day?" The incredulity isn't hidden, and neither is the judgment. And honestly, who could blame them? Let's not forget that eerie image burned into many of our memories. The wedding veil, flowing behind Hailey like a ghostly whisper, etched with the words, "Till death do us part." I remember seeing it for the first time and thinking, that's a little dark, a bit too final. But now, it's starting to feel less symbolic and more prophetic. She meant it, every word. Then Selena responded, in the most poetic way possible. Not with an interview, not with a Twitter thread, but with a song, Ring, released not long after the wedding. And in it, she quietly shattered the silence. "Yeah, I received your message. All 23. It was like hearing someone close a chapter with a smile that hurt." She didn't stop there. With lyrical sharpness, she continued, "You know I'm Jordan with it. GAT, got them right where the carrot's at." A bar loaded with innuendo, metaphors layered like silk. She wasn't just referencing diamonds. She was reclaiming the narrative. And then, wrapped around my finger like a ring. Ring, ring. There it was. The metaphor turned literal. As if to say, I still have you twisted in my orbit, even as you're pledging yourself to someone else. The chorus echoed a deeper truth. He might have been physically present at the altar, but emotionally, spiritually, he hadn't left her orbit. Then came the most cutting lines. "You're all in your feelings, baby. All into me. I'm 1 in a million, baby. Don't you agree?" And whether he ever said it aloud or not, the answer feels implied. He agreed. Entirely. We know because the clips are out there. Justin himself once admitted, "I remember when I got married, I hit this emotional breakdown. I really thought marriage would fix all my problems, but it didn't." He said it with the weary reflection of someone realizing too late that a ceremony doesn't heal what's broken inside, that a ring isn't a remedy. He even confessed, almost like a footnote, she was involved in pretty much all of the wedding decisions. "I just showed up," as though he were a guest at his own milestone. That's not love, that's surrender. In hindsight, many believe the entire union felt choreographed. He didn't say it directly, but you could sense it in his tone, in the pauses. "It was probably arranged," he said once, then corrected himself. "No, I'm sure of it now. Looking back, yeah, it definitely was." And now, years later, they can't even escape the past on a simple trip to Disneyland. Even a day of mouse ears and roller coasters is shadowed by a viral series unraveling old wounds. 7 episodes of scrutiny, following them like a second skin. The past isn't past, it's playing on repeat. Which makes me wonder, in the quiet corners of her mind, does Hailey see herself as a victor in this saga? If she really did position herself, strategically, meticulously, in the exact moments of Justin's life that mattered most. If she carefully wove her presence into his timeline until she became irreplaceable, was it luck or a plan? Either way, it worked. And that's why people can't stop talking. Most recently, the two were spotted trying to recapture some joy at Disneyland. Photos surfaced, cheerful on the surface, but fans weren't convinced. It looked less like a spontaneous date and more like a calculated move. Damage control. Good PR. There's Justin, smiling under Mickey Mouse ears. There's that friend again, the one who popped up in that rap video with him, the one labeled the bad guy. It all seems lighthearted, but some of us can't help but notice the tension beneath the surface. Something about those Mickey ears. It's cute, sure, but for me, it also sets off alarm bells. Maybe it's all the internet rabbit holes I've fallen into, conspiracy theories lurking behind every fairy tale. If you know, you know. And then came a story post from Justin, a picture of him and Hailey. But it wasn't flattering. Her expression was awkward, the angle unkind. And I remember thinking, if my husband posted a photo of me looking like that, we'd be having words. Wouldn't you be pissed? One follower commented. And honestly, I get it. Millions of eyes scroll past that image. And not everyone is kind. People online began to speculate that the entire Disney outing wasn't just a date. It was a deliberate PR move orchestrated by Hailey. Was it her attempt to shift the narrative? Maybe. But here's the part that makes it even more suspicious. Just a few weeks earlier, Selena and Benny Blanco had also been spotted at Disneyland, almost right after their album was announced. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe not. The timelines are tangled. The tension is still there. And the internet, as always, is watching with bated breath. At least, that's the claim being echoed by a TikToker who's been closely following the trail of cryptic posts and digital whispers. Whether Selena Gomez is genuinely engaging in the conversation as much as fans believe, or if people are simply reading too deeply into curated moments, isn't something I can say with absolute certainty. But if you ask me, there's something unmistakable about the timing. It feels like Justin is deliberately trying to send signals, subtle, coded ones, aimed in Selena's direction. The triangle that once defined an era, Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, and Hailey Bieber, is flaring back to life, not in tabloids this time, but across Instagram grids and story posts, where shade is artfully cast without saying a single word. The whole storm has been reignited by a 7-part series that pulled the curtain back on what many believe was a decade-long emotional tug-of-war, riddled with obsession, heartbreak, and rivalry masquerading as resolution. Selena recently posted a vintage interview clip of herself saying, "We're not getting any younger." The message, though calmly delivered, landed like a weighted truth. And barely a beat later, Justin uploaded a carousel of old photos featuring himself and Hailey in their younger years, captioning it with the phrase, "Top Bish." The juxtaposition didn't go unnoticed. You expect me to believe that wasn't a response? Come on. Our Queen Selena shares a reminder about time slipping through our fingers, and he responds by throwing us back to the past, as if saying, "Look who I chose. Look how far we go back." If that's not a veiled jab, delivered with a smile and a flashback, I don't know what is. So where, then, does Hailey fit into this game of silent glances and passive-aggressive subtweets? Oh, don't worry. She made sure her presence was part of the performance, too. According to online whispers, it wasn't Justin's idea alone. He allegedly included Hailey in the shade at her urging. That little nudge to keep an eye out for Selena? It feels premeditated. In another layer of digital innuendo, Justin posted a photo of Hailey as a child, soundtracked by Michael Jackson's Remember the Time. The nostalgia, the curated sweetness, it all feels so intentional, like a calculated juxtaposition to Selena's message about aging and moving on. And yes, I see the extra ad-libs and dramatic flair in these posts. But sometimes the flair is the message. So, thank you for your contribution to the mess, internet sleuths. Still, the mood feels unmistakably murky, especially when Justin's social media activity seems more like an ongoing conversation with the past than a celebration of his present. When I was younger, I was always told not to hate. I grew up believing that harboring resentment was shameful, that even admitting you felt it meant you were failing somehow. So I held it in. I never told anyone, and the silence was suffocating. But healing begins by speaking. You can't release what you pretend doesn't exist. You can't grow from pain if you never give it a name. And who among us hasn't felt hate rooted in heartbreak, in betrayal, in years of quietly carrying wounds that never got to breathe? The whole dynamic, Justin, Selena, Hailey, and even Benny Blanco, starts to feel less like a love triangle and more like an emotional maze, a tangled web that now spans years and includes a baby, a marriage, and a spotlight that never dims. Maybe it's not about drama anymore. Maybe it's about people trying to figure out if the life they chose is the one they really wanted. I imagine Justin scrolling through TikTok, seeing viral edits that splice together Hailey's past comments, facial expressions, moments at red carpets and premieres. Some of it harmless, some of it uncomfortable. And I wonder, in those private moments, does he sit back and glance over at her, heart full of questions? Does he ever want to ask, is this true? Is any of it? And does she already have the answers rehearsed in her head? Cut to a flashback. Melissa Anger, reporting live from the premiere of Monte Carlo, one of Selena's earlier film projects. It's a sweet memory captured in grainy footage, and it echoes louder now that history keeps repeating itself. Hi guys, it's Melissa Anger coming to you from the Monte Carlo premiere, she says, her tone bright, unaware that this seemingly ordinary moment would later be dissected. And then, there they are. The past collides with the present. We catch a glimpse of Hailey lingering in the background, just out of focus. In front of her, Justin, entrain. I'll probably see him inside, Hailey murmurs. A whisper, a hint, a promise. At the time, it felt casual. Now, viewed under a different lens, it feels strategic. They'll say he has more views than both of us, she adds, half joking, half knowing. In that clip, someone adds with sincerity, we're here to support Selena Gomez. She's amazing. She deserves it. And then, almost like a cinematic twist, and we have Bieber here, too. There's so much history compressed into these fleeting frames. So many unspoken things. If you've made it this far, don't stop now. There's more to uncover. Go check out the Let's Get Into It podcast and the full breakdowns on my channel. Because if there's one thing we've learned from all this, it's that the past never really goes away. And this couple, Hailey and Justin, we may not be seeing much more of them together soon. There's a growing rumor swirling that Justin and Hailey might be preparing to turn a significant page in their lives, one that involves leaving the United States behind entirely. When I first came across this, I wasn't quite sure how to process it. It felt both unexpected and, somehow, inevitable. Whispers suggest they're looking to settle down somewhere far from the flashing bulbs of LA and the noise of internet speculation, possibly Italy, of all places. Yes, the very same tranquil haven where George Clooney has found his peace. The motive? A mix of things, really. Concerns over personal safety, the intensity of public scrutiny, and, most importantly, the desire to raise their son, Jack, in a space where innocence isn't drowned out by headlines. For Justin, this relocation isn't just a geographical shift. It sounds like a chance to begin again, to build something quieter, softer, far from the chaos they've known. Honestly, if they need to leave the whirlwind behind in order to preserve what matters most, then maybe they should just go. Walk away from the circus and choose simplicity over spectacle. But there's a wrinkle in this seemingly serene plan. Wasn't Justin just teasing a comeback to music? Wasn't he planting seeds for a creative revival? These contradictions are making it hard to grasp what direction they're really headed in. The messages feel tangled, conflicting, as if he's standing at the intersection of two completely different futures and hasn't chosen a lane yet. Now, I know this next part may come off as a little petty, but bear with me. I can't help but still view Hailey through the lens of her birth name, Baldwin. It's more than just a name. It's a lineage, a legacy, and, in some ways, a mirror to the dynamic she was raised around. Which brings me to a moment I can't seem to forget, a red carpet incident involving her aunt, Hilaria Baldwin, and Alec Baldwin. It was awkward, a little unsettling, and telling in more ways than one. The couple was being interviewed by Extra, promoting their reality TV show, trying to paint the image of a warm, relatable family unit. Hilaria began by speaking cheerfully about how things were going, how everything felt light and exciting. But then Alec interrupted, as he tends to do, chiming in with praise. "It's going to be great," he said, calling Yuria a winner. That's when everything shifted. Her demeanor changed instantly. She whipped around, visibly irritated, and fired back with, "Oh my God, when I'm talking, you're not." And again, as if to make sure the point hit. "No, I'm talking. You're not talking." She then laughed it off, brushing over the tension with a quip. "We'll just have to cut him out of the show." But the moment had already landed, and not in the way they probably hoped. It wasn't a good look, not for a couple trying to market themselves as wholesome and family-friendly. The frustration was real, the sarcasm sharp. The intimacy between them suddenly felt performative. Alex's face, once animated and smiling, crumbled before our eyes. You could literally see the joy drain out of him as he processed what had just happened. He didn't push back. He just stood there, stunned, almost wounded, and eventually tried to slip away from the situation altogether. The shift in his energy was so visible, so raw. It was actually kind of heartbreaking. And then there's the accent. Ilaria's infamous, ever-changing accent. Her peculiar way of saying cucumber. The whole identity spiral. Many still remember her claiming to be Spanish, despite being born and raised in Boston. It's one of those things the internet doesn't forget, no matter how much time passes. She and Alec have quite the brood, 7 children together, in fact. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 7. And that's not counting Alec's daughter from a previous relationship, Ireland Baldwin, who is now 29. She's the child he shares with Kim Basinger. But Alec's legacy isn't just a list of names or a tally of kids. It's also marked by darker, more painful moments. One of the most haunting? A voicemail he left Ireland when she was just 11 years old. A message that still echoes years later. "I want to let you know exactly how I feel," he seethed. "You are a rude, thoughtless little pig." The words are scorched into public memory. Cruel, unfiltered, directed at a child. A moment that shattered the illusion of who he was to many. If I could play it back for you right now, I would. Because some moments deserve to be remembered, not out of malice, but as reminders of what unchecked anger sounds like when it's aimed at the vulnerable. And the internet hasn't let it go. One comment under that clip reads, "I'll never understand why a man would stay with someone so dismissive and disrespectful." Another adds, "There are so many clips of Alec literally telling his wife to shut up while being interviewed. It's not just a one-time thing. They're both guilty of it."